Time to start the meeting. Commissioner Thomas, would you lead us in the invocation and prayer?
Please join me. Gracious Heavenly Father, we bow before you today, and we just acknowledge you as our Lord and Savior. We ask you to just be present with us tonight, guide our hearts, guide our minds, just allow us to make wise decisions for the benefit of our community. We ask you to be with our brother and our fellow commissioner, Mike, tonight, and his family as they grieve the loss of his mother. We know that you've welcomed her home, and we do find peace and comfort in that, but we just ask you to just give peace and comfort to the family during this tough time without her. We ask you to just bless our country, bless our state, our nation. Ask you to watch over those that are serving on foreign soils and stateside to just keep us safe and protect us. Be with our law enforcement. And we ask all things in Jesus' name, I pray. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Welcome, everyone. We have numerous opportunities for you to speak to the commission tonight. Our citizens to be heard in the beginning, or on each end at the end, or in each individual item as it comes forward. We have a guest with us tonight. I just wanted to, Landon Hoffman, who's from Representative Dunn's office, and we welcome him and hope you enjoy the meeting.
To approve the agenda.
Hold on.
Are there any changes to the agenda?
Yes, we'd like to pull item 14, please. Pull it to general business, from consent to general business.
Any others?
The motion still stands.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All right. So our first thing is citizens to be heard. First citizens, Mr. Bill Anderson.
Thank you. Bill Anderson, 2481 Surf Road. It's a small matter, but in the last year they paved US 98 and they paved Surf Road. And for whatever reason, I don't know, but the two new pavings do not come together. There's about a 2-foot gap between where Highway 98 is and Surf Road. Maybe David has something, but I see one of your other agenda items has paving the emergency part of Surf Road. If they could scoot down there in that 2-foot strip, because every time you go over it, it's a big bounce.
Yeah, paving's not finished. They haven't put their final lift on, and they'll take care of that then.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
Next is Mr. Tim Jordan.
I'll wait until
Item.
Adam comes up.
Okay.
He was on the oyster thing, I think, when they got pulled off the consent.
14.
Okay. All right. We have the consent agenda.
We got awards and no awards.
No awards or presentations.
I'll move consent approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You'll get the hang of it, Chuck.
Okay. That takes us to general business.
Nope. We got the item pulled off
It
consent.
was moved to general business.
All right.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
This agenda item requests board approval and updated list of supported Gulf Coast projects. We have two on this agenda item. There are two entities that are seeking board support to move forward in the application process with Gulf Triumph. That is Wakulla Environmental Institute and the Panacea Oyster Co-op. So,
Okay, we have do we have a motion on this? Do we have any cards?
I'll make a motion. At least see what people got to say.
Mm-hmm.
To approve the updated list of supported Triumph Gulf Coast projects.
Second.
Okay, we have numerous citizens to be heard. Mr. Jordan, you wanted to go on this one?
Hear yourself?
What is this?
This is the Panacea, the Gulf
You're
Triumph
supposed to
money.
announce that.
Or is it co-op or?
Co-op, or it's one agenda item.
Yeah, I'll get it and just say what I would like to say.
My name is Tim Jordan. I'm a previous member of the co-op. In fact, I was president of it at one time, but I've since moved on down the road. But we've got a number of Worcester houses and Worcestermen that are not involved in the co-op, and I'd like to see a workshop before we approve anything of that nature, because I don't think it represents the majority of the Worcester farmers in the county, and I would very much like to see any monies that come in benefit everybody and not just a small group of people.
You're talking about the co-op project, Tim?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there again, if I'm also, the WI project, I fully support it if there's no involvement with the co-op. The co-op is, no offense to the co-op, but it's a small business that competes with my business, that competes with a number of other Worcester houses, and we don't feel that they should have a priority over us and get a leg up on us with federal or government funding. So
Hopefully WEI will address that concern.
I hope so, because I fully support WI, and they've been a tremendous help, but there again, they do own 2%, if I'm not mistaken, of the co-op, and I'd like to see that separated from any endeavors that they have. WI, I fully support what they're doing, and as long as there's not co-op involvement. So, and no offense to the co-op, but I just don't feel, and I think the majority of the oyster farmers in the area are independent and would agree with me. And if we're going to go along that line, I'd like to see a workshop and have a lot of involvement from the Worcester community. There is a separation there that's important. So, okay.
Thank you. Next is Mr. Bill Anderson.
Is this on item 14?
Yes.
I thought it was pulled.
It was pulled and moved to general business, and that's where we're at.
It was pulled off
Okay.
consent.
It was
Not
pulled
pulled
off
off the agenda, pulled off consent.
Well, I left my notes out in the car then because I thought it was pulled, but I think I can address it. In November of 2017, you considered all the projects for the Triumph money or whatever. At that time, none of these projects were presented that you're now considering or whatever. Your agenda write-up tonight says that this is a brief summary. You still don't have the complete submission. Your agenda item also says from the staff that it appears it meets the requirement. Because of the brief summary, they can't even tell if it meets the requirements. They say it appears that it does. You're considering $37 million, and whether you're going to approve this or not. You have a workshop that you're proposing for February of 2019 to consider the Triumph projects. This should be postponed until then. I don't know why there's an urgency to this, except the proponents of these projects submitted to Triumph on November 8th of this year that you approved this and recommended it at this meeting. A month ago, they already told Triumph you've approved and recommended this project by their submission on November 8th. That's the only reason I see that there's any urgency to this. You're proposing a workshop on the 18th of February. It should be considered at that time. 19 million of this 37 million is going to a for-profit corporation or whatever. There are people that compete with that for-profit organization. You don't even have a complete submission before you. I don't know how in the world this board could recommend or approve 37 million, including 19 million to a for-profit corporation. I assume also that if Commissioner Messersmith's husband is still involved as a trustee of TCC and as a director of that for-profit corporation, that she will recuse herself from any vote or consideration of this matter as a conflict of interest. In the most recent filings for that corporation, he's listed as a director. On TCC's website, he's listed as a trustee. This should be postponed. The public has never had an opportunity to give any input on this. Again, they did not make the submission in 2017 in November when everybody else with the project made a submission on this. You still don't have anything other than your staff says a brief summary of this to consider now. And why in the world you should move forward before you have a workshop on this to authorize and approve $37 million is ridiculous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, let me clarify something for the public maybe watching. We're not approving any money. They're asking for a letter of support. They're going to apply for $37 million. I just want to make sure people know this is not.
They have applied for it, Randy, and they said you've approved it. There's confusion of Triumph right now. If you look at the November 8th submission of this group, at a minimum, you should require them, if you don't approve it tonight, to go back and correct the record with Triumph, because right now,
Thank you, Mr.
they said you've approved it and they've made a submission.
Yes, sir, I understand. I just want to make sure people aren't confused thinking this is their tax, 37 million of their tax dollars. It's Triumph money.
It's not, it's tax dollars, and it's not tax dollars, but it is
BP's
money.
money.
It's BP money that's coming to Wakulla County, and we're deciding what we think is the best usage.
Whether we want to support something. Not, okay. I just want to make sure.
Mr. Rob Owen.
Good afternoon. My name is Rob Olin. I live at 45 Walker Creek Drive, Shell Point. I represent the Panacea Oyster Co-op. We started 3 years ago to create a coalition that could help pioneer and resurrect this new industry we call aquaculture. Our goal was always inclusion. With inclusion, you get better quality and quantity on all fronts. We set out to start a vertically integrated, sustainable business that's environmentally supportive of this remarkable community. But sustainability means profitable, so we can go on and keep doing and building moving forward. We've reached out to county, state, and national for support, for looking for the best minds we can find in university and college, because this is a new industry. It's built in from Louisiana all the way to our state, and there's different needs and different waters, even from one bay to the next. We have achieved great things as a co-op with our membership. We've had members leave, members come, and we grow. Not every shoe fits every foot. We are stymied by seed. We've created national sales outlets, which was lacking tremendously initially. We've learned new techniques thanks to our partners at WEI on how to better grow oysters, but we are stymied by seed. Without seed, we will never achieve our goal. The best hatcheries out here are LSU and Auburn. We've reached out to them on how best to do it, and what they say is it's research, research, research. We've reached out to University of Florida and FSU, same thing, research. We've got to have research. So, in putting our plans together, each year we learn more and more. We've reached out to the largest agricultural research university we have here, and that's FAMU. There was an article in the paper today about the class of environmental studies I take out on the boat so they can learn more about the oysters and learn more how they need to analyze our waters. For what we need to do, there's algae. You got to feed the little guys. We're working with a pasteurization process that comes from FAMU that allows for live pasteurization. That expands our market tremendously. We also have a flash freeze process and a modular hatchery program. All of these things will come from this program, from this hatchery. We support WEI and TCC with their hatchery program, just like we support FSU With its hatchery program in Franklin County, we believe every county along the coast needs a hatchery for all of us in this industry to succeed. I would like to ask our associate and partner with this, Tim Moore, I think he's on your list next, to speak to the research side. Thank you.
David, this is a totally new project, right? Or is this a revision of one that was
Their
submitted earlier?
project's a new project.
There's new, WBI's is a revision.
It's a revision.
Theirs is totally new,
Yeah.
first presented tonight.
But the TCC project wasn't on the previous submission.
It was on the previous submission. They've amended it slightly.
Mr. Moore, Tim Moore.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Timothy Moore, Vice President of Research, Florida A&M University, 1700 Lee Hall Drive, Tallahassee, 32307. Pleasure to be here tonight for you. I'm here to do two things. One is convey a land-grant university's mission, sea-grant university's mission to supporting this county, this industry to grow. As Dr. Murdoff from TCC will indicate, and the vision that he and Bob Ballard have had with regard to reestablishment and growing this industry, we support that. We see this in two phases. We see a job training program leading to a research program which leads to economic growth across the entire county. We're also committed to diversity and inclusion. We want to make sure that persons of color, disaffected individuals have full opportunity to take advantage of what TCC brings to the table through training, mentorship, and then the ability to have the raw resources to execute. As Mr. Olin has indicated, one of the rate limiting steps in this process, as a guy that used to work at Auburn University, is the land grants there do not have the surge capacity to meet the demands of the industry. What we're proposing with the co-op is to produce a modular hatchery process augmented by algae to feed the spat in order to grow this industry and give unlimited or nearly unlimited resources to this industry to grow. Second thing, I want to address one of the previous speakers' concerns about profit or money coming in from the Florida A&M side. We're a state sovereign enterprise. We don't make a profit. Second of all, I'm going to waive all the indirect costs we may generate off of a project like this and drive them back into the program. And third of all, this is a research program, and as such, the Commission and Triumph Gulf Coast have the ability to walk away from these research programs if they don't bear fruit. In other words, the full $37 million across both programs, $19 million in our program, only come to fruition if we're successful. If they don't make it, you cut your losses and walk away. That's the nature of research. So our intent here is to make sure you understand that we have a calculated strike strategy to grow the program, do it under constraints and good stewardship, authenticate what we're up to, and then make sure that we transmit that know-how into the community free of charge. They can take advantage and grow these modular hatcheries and take advantage of the know-how we have in order to grow their livelihoods, because that's how this is going to work. That's really the essence of the Triumph Gulf Coast Fund, is to be able to reinvigorate these economies that were so adversely affected. The bottom oyster ranching business is in the decline. Pollution, over-harvesting, we all know the facts. At the end of the day, this is about a sustainable aquacultural practice which will not only just help the oyster ranchers, but also bring in back sport fishing as you rehabilitate the environment. As Rob has indicated, my president, Dr. Larry Robinson, fully committed to the water quality. We've got the largest NOAA grant in the nation, $15 million over 5 years for marine and coastal system sustainability. And we do a lot of our training right here in these waters. So this is very important to us. This is our backyard. We want to make sure you know we're a partner in this program. Subject to any questions you or the commissioners may have, sir, that concludes my comments.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Catherine Waldron.
Good evening, Commissioners, and thank you. Catherine Waldron, 18 Graham Trail, Crawfordville, Florida. I'm the CEO of Panacea Co-op, and I just want to make a few comments here. First, I want to address previous speakers' comments. The co-op, our purpose is to help all the ranchers. We're not exclusive. We welcome all ranchers. Our purpose is to help, to allow the ranchers that want to just ranch to ranch. We go and we'll take the oysters and distribute them and market them. So that's our purpose, to help promote those ranchers. There's about 30-some ranchers. They each employ 2 or more people. So it's a strong beginning for economic development. As you know, the oyster industry is struggling in the state. And if we want to have a strong footprint as a state in the oyster industry. It's probably going to happen in this county. And being able to get a application approved like the one we have, where we're partnering not with just FAMU, but TCC, would go a long way towards helping promote development and jobs in this county. And not just direct jobs, but you have indirect jobs like packaging, distributors, shipping, and things like that. So you can see elements of that already, even though we're a small co-op, we're only 3 years old. I think that with a grant like this, it allows us to take it to the next level. We're currently working with national and international distributors, and we have the ability to really become a very big presence in this industry. Thank you.
Thank you. Cypress Rudlow.
Hi, my name is Cypress Rudlow, and I'm with Gulf Specimen Marine Lab. I'm going to start off by telling you that this has nothing to do with their proposed projects, but with y'all's reevaluation of projects for Triumph and giving them a grade. Triumph right now has asked everyone to submit the highest priorities for the affected counties. Well, we have one of those proposals there, and we have been affected. We have been hit very hard. Now, we've been in the county for over 35 years that I've been associated with Gulf Specimen or longer. Over those years, I've built in countless education programs, and over those years, I've been having people come up and tell me about field trips with people my age. We are an asset to this county. We have had severe damage, as I said before, and if y'all's support at the top priority of our proposal would help us go correlate with fixing our facility. We need these funds to get back on our feet. I think our track record over the years has proven that we are an asset to this county, and we could use your support right now. So if you do try to reevaluate these projects, please consider us as a top priority.
Cypress, I think tonight we're not ranking anything, right?
Your only thing you're doing would be recommending
A letter of support.
support to move forward to an application.
So we're not ranking 1, 2, or 3 tonight.
I understand that, and I am using this as an opportunity to just put my
I got
word out there. However, y'all do have a letter of support. How would that, the county board has written a letter of support for us. If you do go into the ranking process, how would that affect our current letter?
That would be the purpose of the workshop. We would bring the workshop together, pull it together and then have the board ask it to see if they want to rank at that point in time.
Okay, so we would have to apply at that point to see.
Right.
That's 2 months away.
Right.
Now, I am familiar, if we do a 2-month workshop, that they are looking for a list of affected counties by the next Triumph meeting. So I do think that this is an important decision to make. However, in our current situation with water systems that have been severely damaged from the storm, sooner is better than later. But it is a big decision to be made. So thank y'all for y'all's time. I appreciate it.
And this is a new project too, right? Not an
What,
updated
theirs?
one. Yeah.
No, their project's already in.
We've already approved that one.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all the citizens to be heard. Is any board discussion?
I have some. Could I bring Sheree up for a couple questions?
She also, I was going to ask, Sheree I've asked her to explain the difference between support and priority
Okay.
on projects.
I just had a couple quick ones. Sheree, what is the time span in years that this project will be considered and money will be paid out from Triumph?
Triumph doesn't have any timelines on when projects are to be submitted. It's rolling.
Right, but they get an allocation every year for, is it 15 or 20 years?
It's 15 years. It's over
So-
15 years.
My purpose in that question is kind of to address Mr. Anderson's concern that there's no way that it would be conceivable for everyone to have their projects in at initial submission, because these projects will continue for the next 15 years. There'll be more projects, and so we wouldn't really have a basis to exclude someone because they weren't in the first round of conversation, because this is going to be an ongoing process for many years.
It will be, and the funds are very similar to the Restore Act, where they get the state gets a deposit annually from the BP settlement. And Triumph's, one of their biggest challenges is phasing and sequencing projects. But statute also says that no one project will be 100% funded in any one year. So your funding is spread out over a duration. And from every project I've seen, there's no way the projects I've seen could be accomplished in a year. They are, 2, 4, 6, 8, even 10-year projects. And so they're cost reimbursement. Nobody gets a check. Nobody's going to get a $15 million check that they put in the bank. The counties were asked.
And the clawback.
Right. It's like there are so many, I relate it to what I'm dealing with Treasury, because you're going to have all these micro performance measures, and then you're going to have your macro. So along the way, if you fail to complete any performance measure, you're not going to get reimbursed until you have corrected the problem. So you're going to have this ongoing on-site from Triumph, and they've hired a lot of really, really good people that are very pleasant to work with. One is Dr. Rick Harper, and the other one is Corey Henderson, and they really know their stuff. And so when we as a county support a project, we don't have the expertise to evaluate an application. We don't have scientists and we don't have PhDs, but Triumph does. Our support of a project means that we may be supporting it conceptually. You have you can say, we're going to have a workshop. You may hear information. You can rescind that support at any time. I don't think any projects are going to be funded for a long time, because Triumph has a $56 million project on the table that they're going to be discussing next Friday that has to do with an airport expansion in Escambia County, as well as FSU Franklin County has a Oyster project on the table, and I'm not sure if Triumph's going to approve it or if they're going to turn it down on Friday.
If I could, Cherie, the Regional Planning Council, there's a lot of talk about the counties affected by the hurricane using Triumph money to subsidize their millage rate, because they had such a devastation of homes. Their millage rate is just decimated. So they still have to run their government, but now they can't collect property taxes because the property's been destroyed. So there was a lot of talk, because Ralph, you remember one of the criteria for Triumph money is that it reduces millage rate, is one of the criteria. So there's been a lot of talk about using this Triumph money to, like, Calhoun County, if they can't, or Gulf County, if they're falling short, instead of raising millage rate, Triumph will come in and subsidize.
Offset it, yeah.
They're also doing a bridge loans as well, so. Yeah.
And one of the things is Triumph, they want to be responsive to their counties that were impacted, and they were wanting to know, what are your immediate impacts for a bridge loan. And one of the examples was, if you couldn't afford to pay your 25% on your FEMA grant, then maybe that's where they could come in and help with debris removal. They were looking at pre- and post-disaster needs for the county, to help the county get out of a bind. They didn't put a deadline on us. They really wanted information for their meeting that's coming up on Friday. And that doesn't mean that they're not going to talk about this, for several more months, because this is also going to be a big issue, disaster recovery, in the legislature this year. Mm-hmm. So I don't think that this is going to be our last chance to bring these issues to the table.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but this money is not limited to government. It's not limited to nonprofits. A full for-profit, Walmart, could have a package that they could submit to the Triumph, and if they meet the criteria and they're approved, that they could qualify as well, correct?
This is true, but there's one little caveat. Triumph does not contract direct with the private industry. So any agreement would have to be through the county,
Mm-hmm.
Or a
Governmental
TCC, a FAMU, an FSU.
Okay.
How would that apply in Jack's case?
We would probably have to be the grant recipient, and then we would sub-grant to Jack and make sure that they do everything. And that's why, if you'll notice in my agenda item, that I wrote with the co-op that I recommended that FAMU be the one on the application, so that if they were awarded or it moved forward, that FAMU would be responsible for that project. Like with the WIA, WIA will not be the grant recipient if it's awarded now in the future, unless the laws change. It would be TCC, and they would be the fiscal agent.
So if we're acting as fiscal agent, we need to monitor it. We need to make sure that it meets the criteria, or the taxpayers would be responsible for paying the money back if Triumph determines that it did not meet the criteria.
Right, we would be the hammer.
Right.
And in these two situations, we'd have FAMU to pay the money back or TCC.
I'm sorry, what?
We'd have FAMU to pay the money back or TCC.
We would have to pay the money if we have the contract. We have
No,
to
I
pay
mean,
the
on the,
right. FAMU would
those
be
two.
responsible,
The other two.
or TCC.
They're the fiscal agents. They're ultimately responsible to ensure compliance.
Mhm.
so the first time this came, we made our list up. Do we have a workshop? We had a workshop on this.
We had a couple of workshops.
And everybody had to come and give us a presentation.
If they wanted to, but we did ask them to do a mini application so that we could have a little bit more information. Since then, Triumph has what they call a pre-application, and they're almost the same. But we got a lot more information, and we had some very clear deadlines, and we made sure that we reached out to Sopchoppy, St. Mark's, Panacea Waterfront, St. Mark's Waterfront, to make sure that we got, we did a lot of research and made sure everybody had a fair opportunity to submit applications and be heard. But there again, we look at it and we have two levels. The first level is staff level. When we look at it, we look to see if it appears to meet the criteria. That just means based on what we know, it appears. The second level is is it something the county's interested in supporting? And the third thing, is it a priority? You can support a program, but it doesn't mean it's a priority. So we're asking our priorities to be the first responder communication system.
County priorities.
A county priority. County projects, and the communication system, because that's directly related to pre- and post-disaster.
We've already adopted that ranking in the consent agenda.
And we're looking at the library serving as a hurricane post-disaster shelter, which is a lot harder than, pre-disaster. And so that's, again, it's directly related to a disaster, and it's a county project. Had a conversation with Superintendent Pierce. He is still working on his application, which was our priority number 2 for the TCC campus, and he said he needs to drop down to number 3 or lower because he still has some work to do. So we have priorities, and we just have a list of projects that we support. But you can have a workshop, reassess, get new projects. Everybody has a chance to refresh their projects.
And we have to rank these at some point in the future, right, David?
Triumph
Wants us to rank them, right?
Right. They do want to know what your top priorities are. They want to know. And they've said, come out with A, B, C, D, E, F. To me, I don't know what the difference between 1, 2, 3, 4 and A, B, C, D, E is. I thought about it, but.
And that's what we're going to do in the workshop?
And we have to do that.
That's totally up to you guys, whatever you want to do.
We don't have to rank them if we don't want to?
Well, you could let it roll the way it is. You could have the workshop and bring everybody in and then rank them, or leave it the way it is, and,
I'm talking about, let's say if we do approve this support tonight, we're still going to have to come back in a couple of months and rank these, because Triumph...
I would recommend that. Triumph is asking for projects to be ranked, yes.
The non-county projects, which we've never done that before.
Right.
We said if you want to submit...
Understand, the first process it went through, we heard all of the projects, including the county projects. You selected 5 projects out of that. 2 were the school board, 2 was the counties, and 1 was the City of St. Mark's project. And those were prioritized 1 through 5 from the school in that manner. So what we've done is said, okay, they've come back and said, based on the hurricane, what do you see now as your projects? So that's the reason we've asked projects. It doesn't matter. This is all projects, because realize this we heard everybody's projects, and we had priority projects, and then we had projects that were submitted for recommendation or not support.
We support.
Okay, support to move on. That's what there's. So it's like 2 different lists. It's one list, but 2 different lists.
I just want to make sure we've tonight we rank the county projects. When we have this workshop, there's no chance that WEI, for example, or Gulf Specimen is going to be ranked above the library or something like that.
That will be up to you guys, but hopefully our projects will already be gone and through the system by that time.
But it could happen.
It could happen.
But for me, I mean, if that happens, then certainly we need a little more details.
That's
we
right.
need, you know, I know I've spoken to Rob, I've spoken to Jack and Bob, and you know, it's been communicated to me that the Triumph expects that this is going to be evaluated by an economist, and I think all three of these gentlemen know that, and that's a big part of that criteria is to make sure that the economist has signed off on it. They have a full-time economist on staff at the Triumph, and it's about return on investment. It's about the benefit to the community. So it could rise to that level where maybe one of those projects is of more importance. Public safety always is going to be a pretty high priority, but you know, we have to evaluate all that.
I don't want to get too deep into the weeds, but to me, Cypress, and specifically talking to you, it makes a big difference if the citizens, taxpayers aren't on the hook for it. You know what I mean?
As far as any clawback or any
You know
accountability.
what I'm saying? The other projects, the MU's on the hook, TCC's on the hook. In your case, we're on the hook. That's a difference. And I don't want.
I'm sure that's true.
We could talk about the workshop. I just want to tell you what I was thinking, and we'll talk about it after the meeting.
That's right.
Okay.
So when our workshop is scheduled for,
We
We haven't.
haven't scheduled it yet.
Right, I need, I'll do an agenda item for the first meeting in January, requesting that the workshop be held. Is it February 18th, Jess?
19th.
And the only reason why I put it out to the last meeting in February is simply to give everybody a chance to get their applications pulled together and to make sure we got the word out. I mean, we can do it sooner, but we're, you know, in the middle of the holidays. I just want to make sure everybody was back in town and, you know, it was fair.
Sounds good.
okay, I had one question for either, I think WEI, you call it a hatchery, and and the Panacea calls it a seeding, okay? Is it the same thing? Come on up, Bob.
I was going to ask Bob a question next anyway.
Bob Ballard, Executive Director for Wakulla Environmental Institute. Okay, would you repeat your question? Okay.
Chuck's actually had the question.
Oh,
Okay, you call it a hatchery, Panacea Co-op's calling it a seeding process. It sounds like you're doing the same thing,
well,
that's my question.
a couple things. One, let me be very clear. Our proposal has nothing to do with the co-op proposal.
I understand,
Okay, and
two
they're not
separate proposals.
Right, they're not a
Okay.
part of ours. We are looking to do a nursery and a hatchery. So the nursery is where they grow, but a hatchery is where they're
Hatched.
where they spawn, right? Where they spawn, right? And that's where the seed is created. But then once the seed is created, then you have to take it into the nursery and get it to such a size that it can be sold to the farmer. Okay.
So the hatchery, how's that different from what the Panacea Co-op's doing?
I am not familiar with, I have not been keeping on purpose up with their proposal because theirs is completely different with a different university. So I'm not quite sure what they're doing, but I would like to say that we don't need one hatchery in the area. In the state of Florida, we need 20. We need as many as we can get because with what's going on, what the demand is for this area and for the state of Florida, it's going to be huge, and we need as many nurseries and hatcheries out there. Auburn University, which is where we're getting our seed from now, is on purpose going out of business in a year or two because they no longer want to be in that business. They want to get into and stay into the research business. They're just staying around because they are trying to help the oyster industry, but they have told me specifically, and Dr. Oyster, Bill Walton, is coming here next week to teach one of our classes. He wants us to hurry up and get as many nurseries and hatcheries out there as possible to help support this thriving industry that we've got going on down here.
Can you address Tim's concern specifically about are you teamed up with anyone at all, or is this strictly WEI alone?
This is strictly WEI, and this will be used as a training center. The co-op is not a part of this. If we have any needs in the future for outside help to help with this nursery hatchery, we will put that out for bid. And I will not be a part of that bid selection. So it will be, if we have need, and I'm not saying we even have need, but if we have need, we will put that need out for anybody to bid on for that business that we would be creating from the nursery hatchery. And I've talked to Tim and at the chamber meeting, and nothing has changed from that.
I'd like to ask both of you who your customers are. Let's say you both get approved and we have multiple hatcheries, then that's great. But let's say only one of you get approved. Will everyone have the ability to buy seed from you, and that would go for both programs?
So my priority would be Wakulla County. Wakulla County is my first priority. It always is my first priority on anything that we do. Wakulla County is our first priority, and then the surrounding areas. Florida is a priority for us. We have gone to Alabama and have had to wait second and third and fourth in line to get whatever they had left over. We want to take care of ours first before we give seed to anybody else. But Wakulla County, everybody in Wakulla County has the same rights as anybody else in Wakulla County. We will be fair to our folks in Wakulla County first.
Thank you.
Anything else? So, if we, tonight we're just putting it on the list. This doesn't put a priority on it. It's just on the list. Okay.
Yes.
David, you good with that?
And if I could clarify with Mr. Olin, I'd like that same question of who his customer base would be.
Well, we started this conversation off with inclusiveness. Our whole program has been someone has to lead. Someone has to be responsible. So we stepped up with this, with WEI for that. Our whole program is inclusive. As Bob said, we've been getting the runt of the litter from Louisiana and Alabama for the last 3-4 years. That has to stop. We have to get first bred. With our pasteurization, you ask seeding versus hatchery. Thank you. Seeding versus hatchery. It's more inclusive. We got to have food. That's why we have the algae research. You got to feed these critters when they first come out. Okay, we have to have an overall water analysis. Ours is a little more, we look at it as more comprehensive so we can better serve everyone. Yes, our members at the co-op would be receiving the seed. Tim and Walt, if they want to receive it, if Outlaw Oyster needs it, anyone along our coast first in Wakulla County. And after that, we want to reach over to Franklin. We'd like to have joint ventures with every county that's got a hatchery in our state to say, look, if something happens to your spawn and it dies, we're here to help you. Likewise, we'd like to be in that same position that if ours dies, you're here to help us. And that is a real situation that's happened every year so far since we've been doing this. Okay? So it's about inclusion for everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Well, at the end of the day, they're going to determine whether their projects survive or die. It's not us. We're simply saying, basically, in my mind, I'm saying, I don't mind if you guys apply for this. I'm not going to get out there in the street waving signs about it, but that's kind of the way I look at it. They're applying for it. If they get the grant, good for them. They'll have to make it work.
And have to prove to the Triumph that they meet the criteria, and there's going to be an economic impact and a return on that money.
And if they fail, the money's got to be paid back. Okay, anybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes 4-0. Next item is...
The next item this evening is a resolution to close and abandon a portion of St. Ansbury Street and an unnamed platted driveway within the Surf subdivision plat.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any citizens to be heard? Any discussion by the board?
This is the final vote on that.
Final vote.
That is correct, yes, sir. Okay.
Yeah. No discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passes 4-0.
The next item this evening is a request for the board's approval to file an application to close and abandon a portion of Pine Street, which is also located in the Surf subdivision. This item, if approved by the board this evening, will come back to the board for final approval after appropriate advertisement.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any citizens? Any discussion by the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes 4-0. That's the end of planning and zoning. Next, we have commissioner agenda items. And we only have one, and that's mine for basically our committee assignments.
Motion to approve.
Well, we need to change one at least.
We got
okay?
the revised one, right, about the alternate.
The alternate, and
Is that,
we
the
have,
agenda item is correct, right, with the corrected,
The backup.
did you make the,
The one that we handed out this afternoon was revised.
that's the one I'll make a motion on, is the one that's revised from this afternoon.
we still need to change the canvassing board. You want the canvassing board?
No, I don't want the canvassing board. Why can't you do it? You're not up for 2 years.
Well,
We'll do this next selection. I did it twice, Chuck.
you don't have anything between.
Let's appoint Mike Stewart to it, he's not here.
Well, there's only two of us that aren't going to be running next election. That's going to be Quincy and you. So it's,
Well, I'd heard Mike wasn't gonna run, but can't we wait till next?
Well, but this is just for 2019, and so
You do
we
it.
could,
You have
we
to
Oh,
could, anybody
do
could
it.
do it for 2019, and
Chuck can do it then.
I can do it for 2019, but I can't. We don't have an
There's
election.
possible it's gonna be a special election,
always issues can come up.
what
Who
I've
knows?
heard.
Who
So
knows?
enjoy it, Chuck. You did a great job. I've done it twice.
That punishment. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So the other changes is on the small county coalition, instead of having a primary and alternate, it's two primaries. So there's not an alternate. We get two votes on that if both members
That's
are
you
present.
and Chuck.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
That's the way it's supposed to be. That way. All
Yeah, that's right. I think that was just a typo.
Typo.
Kelly, did you get all that in the motion? Okay.
So I'll second your motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passes 4-0. All right. County attorney.
Yeah, just one informational item, Mr. Chairman. I separately sent you all the application we had been copied upon from DEP, where Mr. Foltz had put an application to maintain his fence at the end of Lake Ellen Drive. We're monitoring that. In the event that, pursuant to prior board direction, in the event that any of the fence that goes across the width of the end of that right-of-way, which would impede navigation, is allowed to remain, we will be challenging that determination.
Not the part that's perpendicular to the shore?
That was not previous board direction.
Okay, so the only board direction was if it's parallel to the shore,
Yes.
basically.
Is that it?
That's all.
County administrator.
Yes, as you know, this is our last meeting of this year, of this calendar year. Our next meeting is January 7th. So wish everybody a happy holidays.
Merry Christmas. is what
Merry
Gary would
Christmas.
say. That's right.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
WWJD.
So anyway, but other than that, clean up debris, we're still continuing to clean up. We believe we'll have the bulk picked up by Christmas still. Still have more after that, but the bulk will be picked up after then. And other than that, everything's good. That's it.
So are these people that are requesting they're not getting picked up, everybody's going to get picked up?
Yes, sir.
So after New Year's.
Unless they put it out after the second
Unless they
pickup,
put it out
then they
after the
will
second
not
pickup. Now, there will be, after the New Year's, we're not going to pull them off. We'll just be downscale. We'll have the bulk of the stuff picked up. So we'll still have trucks running after that.
Bet nobody in Smith Creek put it out there, did they, Nanette?
Not much. Be careful of saying that everybody who picked up private roads
Yes.
Yeah, private roads
Private
do
roads
not.
only got the one pickup.
That's right. Private, well,
Can you come up here and say that, just
Yeah.
in case somebody's watching this on TV? Kind of important.
she's been here long enough, she should have known that.
Thank you, Commissioners. For private roads, there's special right of entry forms that have to be filled out. There's other determining factors on whether there's an easement, on whether there's an HOA. If you'll just call our office at 926-7616, we can walk you through that path and try to get any private roads picked up.
That's the road department number, right?
Yes.
43153.
Thank you, Nanette.
It's the sewer department.
Anything else?
It all rings to the same.
That's it.
That's it? Any more citizens to be heard? Onassis Tate, okay.
Gentlemen, ma'am, my name is Onassis Tate. I'm with the Office of, I'm with the Small Business Association, Office of Disaster Assistance. I've been sent here to give you basic information on the loan programs that are currently available. We have a hard deadline coming up to December 10th, so I wanted to make sure that this county was taken care of. I'm replacing Mr. Don Fikes. I wanted to make sure that all your constituents knew that the government cares. You can go to one of our disaster recovery centers over at the Wakulla Community Center. We're still open until, I believe, the 10th. There are 3 ways in which you can file with the Small Business Association, whether you're a business of any size, homeowners, renters, or nonprofit organizations. We have up to $2 million for businesses and nonprofit organizations. It's 30 years to pay back, and it's a 2.5 for the nonprofits and 3.675 as low as. For renters and homeowners, it's up to $240,000 at as low as 2.0%.
Over a 30-year payback period?
Up to 30 years, yes, sir.
It's like free money, Ralph.
Well, it's not free money, but most people are
Cheaper than the market.
maxing out their credit cards trying to get back to a normal. The federal government is offering as low as 2.0% for homeowners and renters.
Now, it's my understanding that
Yes, sir.
you have to have not been able to get conventional financing to qualify for this. Is that correct or no?
I'm not quite sure about that.
Okay.
I don't know.
Because there was a lot talk about this at the Regional Planning Council again, and at the end of the day, it said if you can't get regular financing from a financial institution, not a credit card or a
Right.
payday loan, but you couldn't go to a bank for whatever reason, then you would qualify. So I was, 2%, hell, I was going to try to get one, but.
Well, most people are maxing out their credit cards at 20%.
Exactly.
So the government is offering, again, as low as 2.0% for over 30 years. I wanted to make sure that this particular area which I'm working, that all your constituents know. And again, we do have a hard deadline of December 10th. So again, I want to make sure that everybody knows what's available to you from the federal government.
The bridge loans used to be like a 2 or 3 year return payback period, which was really hard for a small business, but this 30 years,
Over 30 years.
that's
So it's a great deal.
Big deal.
hard to beat.
Absolutely.
We have folks watching at home as well, and so you're
Excellent.
getting that message out further than just this room.
Awesome. That makes me
Community
feel
center.
great.
The community centers where they need to
Community
go.
Center by December 10th.
By December 10th. Yes, sir. Any questions from anybody? I'm going to leave materials here, so if anybody needs them, if you guys need loans, please let us know. The government is here to help.
Government's here to help. Yes,
Yes, we
Classic
are.
saying.
Absolutely. Gentlemen, lady, ma'am,
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
I
sir.
appreciate your time.
Okay. Discussion items by commissioners? Randy, want to start?
Yeah, I'll start. Or I was going to make a motion to adjourn, but I don't have anything to say.
Okay.
I don't have
First
anything.
chance? No.
Welcome, Quincy.
Thank you.
First night.
Oh, yeah, welcome, Quincy.
Yeah. One thing, we approved on the consent agenda tonight to award the contract for the bridge repair on Surf Road. And that they're anticipated to complete by the end of this year, And so
By Christmas.
earlier we said early 2019, but it looks like it's going to be by Christmas.
And I
And so
think, Ralph, they have 10 days to complete the work, right? Once their contract is let, and it's going to be let soon, right?
Yes, I will get everything back by the end of this week for asphalt.
So it probably needs to be done before Christmas, in
Very
case
good.
Sheree Posey's listening.
that's all I have.
Okay. Thank
Thanks
you.
to adjourn.
We're adjourned.
Good job.
Stuck
Like
with
me,
it.
you're awfully quiet.